Then when we have gathered all those requirements, of course, we have to document them somewhere. That is also one of the major responsibility of yours, where you can see organizational standard document format. So sometimes you will go into the projects and they will tell you that, for example, any requirement specification document, so this is the format you have to follow. And I'll show you either tomorrow or in next Saturday's class that how do these different templates or how these different formats look like, and how do you really take care of within that parts of that. Then you organize, categorize, and package the requirements into business, functional, and technical again. Then you overview and document of requirement components like data, process, internals and externals, and business rules. We will see also tomorrow that what do we really mean by or how we really classify them into any requirement, saying that okay, this requirement is data requirement, this is process requirement, and this is internal, external, or business rule. Then requirement package. Then you package all those requirements, whatever you have gathered so far. You have to put them into one place. This is where you are documenting them. So at one place you have to package them in a way with respective to again that this is related to textual part. This is diagram part, and sometimes you have to come up with your own formats as well if companies are not following any sort of standard documentation process. Then documentation formats. What type of documentation formats again? When you are talking about requirement packaging. So how do you package them? Different formats. So what are the different formats? That could be textual template, which is usually business requirements. Sometimes it's in the shape of prototype user interfaces. Does anyone of you have any idea about the prototype? What prototype is? Sorry. Any on top of your head, what this word really means when we say prototype? So what do we really mean by that?
Like a model.
Right. So what happens is just try to chain it into for example, airplane, right? So they don't directly jump. For example, Boeing company, they won't directly jump into making airplanes, right? Because it's a huge project. It involves billions and trillions of dollars in there. So they don't directly jump into that. So what they do is they start with modeling processes. So they say, okay, this is the model how the whole airplane would look like. Then there are some technical functionalities problem can come up. For example, if it's not really aerodynamic, so it's going to waste lots of gas, or the nose has to be in this shape because then it's aerodynamic shape, and then this is how it would help them. Then wings. All these different parts come in. Exactly same scenario, you try to put it into the IT project. Although the difference between IT projects and all these different projects is, the different manufacturing projects is, that in manufacturing projects you have some physical model in front of you. But in IT projects, it's all about conceptual. For example, if I tell you that I need a website which should have all these type of functionalities. If you click on this thing, this is what should happen, and then if I do this thing, so this is what should happen. So of course it's all about conceptual. You would keep making a picture in your mind, in your head, but you won't be able to really see how does it really look like. So how do they do that? And they come up with solution or this problem. It was a huge communication gap where business side is keep talking, and technical team is keep coming up with the ideas, but business side was we know what you are saying, how would it look like, but we don't really know, because we can't see anything. There's nothing physical. So this is where the whole prototyping part came in. For example, they will, technical teams, they will make a kind of dummy website with most of those functionalities available. If you click on something, so it would jump to the next page, but this is not really a true website. It's not really functional. It's just dummy. And so it just to show to the business side that this is how it would look like, and so then they start making their inputs because something is visible now. So then they say based on their experiences, so either this option should not be there, just delete this, or one option which I think of, I cannot see it up there, just add this. So you just keep writing all these these different requirements, and then at the final, so you do come up with like, final shape of that product, and then you go back to the technical teams. I mean, of course, technical teams were initially involved in that, and within even that documentation process. So this is where like, the whole prototype part comes in. And here you can see like, it's not only prototype, it's actually prototype user interfaces. And these are the functional requirements. As I said, like, this is function, right? That to click on this thing, that what should happen. So this is how the whole function would work. So now graphical display UML. Sometimes what happens is there are certain processes which you cannot like, achieve every single thing within prototype part. Like everything cannot be put like, into that dummy system, because then it would become, certainly eventually it would become the final product, which they do not really want, because creating prototype is totally different thing than the creating the real thing. And that is where like, they do not want to spend like, lots of their time, because they say, no, we want to directly jump into the real mode of like, that particular application or software, instead of keep wasting our times on the prototypes. And so this is where like, all this UML, like use case modeling techniques come in. And the UML is Unified Modeling Language, which tells you like, all those diagrams. So you make all those diagrams on the process base. So you say, okay, so for example, this is the start button. So if I click on the start button, what should happen? Okay, so menu appears with all these options. Okay, so this goes in there. So if I click like, then each option would refer back to different. And then finally you would, if I ask you like, for example, make a diagram of start menu. So you will see like, that would end up probably like, 6 or 7 pages of diagram by mentioning only that, okay, this is how the first part would look like and this is how the second part would look like. If this particular function would have like, some sub items or not, and if this function is only like, just one part of it. So like, so this is how basically you try to diagram all those different business processes or concepts, whichever they are coming up with. And these, of course, are the technical requirements. And usually you create your UML or like, all those diagrams specifically to meet your technical requirements.